president described it as a mini apocalypse. Such grave circumstances there. Faith, thank you. The remnants of Hurricane Helene are dumping rain on already saturated.
Somebody was at the river and just looking at the destruction and cars upside down and saw Halloween costumes floating down our river. And then she saw faces and realized they weren't costumes. She said, I've seen bodies and I'm not okay with that.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production. The views on this channel are those of Omega Watchman Media Group LLC, and not those of Google, YouTube, or their advertising affiliates. Due to the mature nature of this content, language, and depth, viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Emergency managers in Florida's Taylor County are telling people choosing to stay, and there are people choosing to stay, to write their name and date of birth on a leg to help identify their bodies.
I've heard social media is saying like there are 8 dead in Spruce Pine. Maybe they have 8 confirmed bodies, but I have to tell you the truth here, folks. You can smell the bodies in certain places along the river. There were vultures out. They have marked, with they being the National Guard, have marked over 100 bodies in a 6-mile stretch of river. Possible bodies, just where they think they are. You can't see them, guys. The bodies, the smells, the things are either buried in sand or they're up in the trees and they're crushed in sediment.
You can't see them, guys. The bodies, the smells, the things are either buried in sand or they're up in the trees and they're crushed in sediment.
But the reports that are coming out of these towns in western North Carolina are horrific. The news is not even coming close to catching the true devastation. There are bodies that are floating down the river, babies, and if this is not a wake-up call, anyway, pray for western North Carolina. And don't believe everything that you're hearing on the news, because they're not. One of my friends in Canada had heard that there were like 200 people missing and maybe 40 dead. Y'all, so much more than that. At the local hospital in Nashville, there are over 900 unidentified bodies. And that was just from 2 days ago, so I'm sure there are more, but there are. People are floating down the river.
And saw Halloween costumes floating down our river. And then she saw faces and realized they weren't costumes.
And knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group
All right,
production.
quick pause, I'm done. We've got breaking news upon breaking news upon breaking news this hour. This is the last one coming into us just now. The Israeli military says that Iran has launched a missile from Iran into the territory of the State of Israel.
That Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, the sea and the waves roaring.
Floridians are preparing for another hurricane. Millions of people are getting ready for Hurricane Milton.
Folks are just reeling as they're just trying to patch themselves up emotionally.
Yeah, just something we haven't seen before.
Yeah. But this is a powerful storm. This is putting us in very rare territory.
We want to take you now to Tampa, Florida, where top FEMA officials and the mayor are giving an update for Hurricane Milton.
Coming off of Hurricane Helene, getting back up on our feet, but we need to take Milton seriously. But this is going to be an event like none other.
but this is going to be an event like none other.
Just something we haven't seen before.
Hurricane Milton's strength and magnitude have left veteran meteorologists in shock, including John Morales of Miami. Take a look.
Just an incredible hurricane. It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific.
Frankly, you should be shaken too.
Well, Florida's Gulf Coast is bracing for yet another major hurricane. But it's not just any storm, it's the strongest storm the world has seen so far this year. Hurricane Milton has weakened slightly to a Category 4 strength, but the storm's explosion in size and intensity has been staggering, jumping from a Category 1 all the way to Category 5 in just 24 hours. By the time it makes landfall sometime Wednesday, it should weaken to a Category 3. But that's little comfort for a state still reeling from Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago. Officials are warning Milton's impact will be catastrophic.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group.
Governor, I'm curious if you've seen that post from the Taylor County Sheriff's Office that basically said that if people were staying behind despite the evacuation order, that they needed to put their name and information like their birthday in permanent marker on their limbs. Is that too much or is that fair?
Anybody in your house? Fire department, come on out, we got a boat.
That's video of crews racing to rescue people trapped inside burning homes in that part of Florida. The storm went from a Category 1 to a Category 4 hurricane and then back to a tropical depression today, all within the span of 24 hours. Right now, multiple states are facing once-in-a-lifetime flooding. Just look at those images.
Once-in-a-lifetime flooding. Just look at those images. The president described it as a mini apocalypse, such grave circumstances.
Hey guys, I want to put a major trigger warning on this video. There's discussions of loss of life and it's graphic. The Hurricane Helene disaster in Western North Carolina was 1 week ago today. I'm talking to people at the Yancey County Fire Departments, and this is firsthand information and includes quotes. I'm going to try to say it in the calmest way I can because it's really difficult for me to read this on the note that I wrote down. There are 4 reefer trucks full of dead bodies. That we don't have numbers on total losses of life, and I don't even know how many people fit in a reefer truck. But there are 4 reefer trucks full of dead bodies. Small country fire departments are managing this effort. Country fire departments that operate off flip phones before this event. They are pulling dead bodies still out of the river.
I've heard social media saying like there are 8 dead in Spruce Pine. Maybe they have 8 confirmed bodies, but I have to tell you the truth here, folks. You can smell the bodies in certain places along the river. There were vultures out. They have marked, with they being the National Guard, have marked over 100 bodies.
Had heard that there were like 200 people missing and maybe 40 dead. Y'all, so much more than that. At the local hospital in Nashville, there are over 900 unidentified bodies.
And then she saw faces.
Well, good morning. And now to the growing loss of life and devastation across the southeast here in the United States from Hurricane Helene. The death toll climbing this morning with nearly 230 people
This is
dead.
an Omega Watchman Media Group
the
production.
FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants.
Well, 10 TV political reporter Doug Petcash looked into this for us tonight, and the question being, Is FEMA running out of disaster relief funding because it's being spent on undocumented migrants? Doug, what's the answer?
Well, the answer is no, Angela. The administration did not divert money from FEMA's disaster relief fund, but there is a separate fund administered by FEMA that does give hundreds of millions of dollars to help undocumented migrants. The White House pushed back on Trump's claims in a statement saying this is false. The disaster relief fund is specifically appropriated by Congress to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and mitigate impacts of natural disasters. It is completely separate from other grant programs administered by FEMA for DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, that is. And on its website, FEMA said basically the same thing, that no money is being diverted from disaster response needs.
FEMA is asking Congress for more money to get through hurricane season, but some say the agency would have had plenty if it didn't spend so much helping undocumented migrants. Brandon Lewis from our Verify team went to the border to find out more.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says the government's response to Hurricane Helene is stretching FEMA's budget, and it doesn't have enough to make it through hurricane season. Many people and politicians on social responded by claiming the real reason FEMA is running out of money is because it spent $1 billion housing people who are entering the U.S. illegally.